What's next for Bam Adebayo? With a possible contract extension on the horizon, how does he reach the next level? We continue our exit interviews with a look at Miami's big man rotation, including Adebayo, Kevin Love, Thomas Bryant, and Orlando Robinson, and what happens next for all of them. All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Heat, your everyday podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day, Monday to Friday. I'm Wes Goldberg, editor at allyoucanheat.com, here with David Ramil, both of us credentialed Heat media members, and excited about today's show. We're going to talk about how Bam Adebayo can improve this summer and look ahead to questions at the Heat's backup center position. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Before we get to our exit interviews, David, I surprised you with a new segment right before we started recording, and it's called Would You? And the basic premise is I'm going to ask you a couple different questions, and then at the end, I'm just going to ask, would you?
I think I get it. Pretty
that,
self-explanatory there. Yeah.
It took me a long time to come up with this. Would you draft Bronny for a chance to sign LeBron? Is our first one. This off of reports of Bronny is medically cleared to play in the NBA by the NBA's panel of whatever it is that they do. And LeBron James has been open about the fact that he wants to one day play with Bronny James, his son. And so he's started to ease up on those comments a little bit, but I guess the belief around the league is that that's still something that would be on his priority list. Where it is on the priority list, I guess TBD. But Bronny's also looks like he's impressing at the first day of the NBA Draft Combine, making a bunch of threes, 40-something inch vertical, and all these things. So the Heat, they're picking 15th and 43rd. Would you use one of those picks on Bronny if it meant that you had a chance to perhaps get LeBron James?
I would take Bronny. I would not take him for the chance to lure LeBron. I think that would be secondary, and I don't think LeBron is making that as much of a priority as he once said. I also think that if he's there at the start of the second round, then I'd see what I could do to move up to, like, say, the 32nd, 33rd pick in the draft, something like that, whatever kicks off day 2 of the NBA draft, and see if he's still available at that point in time, and then I'd take him there. But I'm not going to use a first-round pick on a player like that just yet. I don't think he's ready yet to be a contributor, but that doesn't mean he can't be an NBA player. He's a little small, a little undersized, but as a defensive player, a playmaker, a guy with some athleticism and some shooting ability, he can be a contributor, and we already know he's going to be coached up by his dad on a daily basis. So I think he's a fine prospect. I just wouldn't spend a first-round pick on him.
I don't think anybody's spending a first-round pick on Bronny at this point, unless they think they're getting LeBron, and that would be the only reason, right? And even trading up, like, that seems like pretty dramatic for the level of prospect that Bronny is considered. Miami's picking at 43. Bronny, remove the last name. Bronny sounds like a guy picked. Like, his resume is somebody that goes undrafted. That's the resume, and
I don't think he'll be there at 43. I really don't.
You're right. That's what but that's the point, right? Then you tack on the last name and the pedigree and all that stuff, and then you're like, okay, now maybe we'll take a swing at this guy. We'll see. The second round is really funky anyway, but
sure.
You know, if the shooting really comes around, then this guy's he's like 6'2" with a 6'8" wingspan. Defensively, he's really smart. Everybody, you read all the scouting reports, it's like this guy's basketball IQ is, you know, it's like top 10% of this draft class, right? Which makes sense considering who his dad is. But, you know, athletically, he's not his dad, right? He's a guard. He is not a forward. He's never going to be playing power forward or small ball center ever in his career the way that LeBron has, you know. But, you know, we'll see. I'm with you. I probably wouldn't do it if it meant if you're only doing it for a chance to try to get LeBron. That's dumb. Now, that's not how the NBA works. We also understand that if you're doing that, you might have some sort of back channel research done in terms of, yeah, you know what, maybe we do have a pretty good chance at getting LeBron, and part of that is this promise of drafting Bronny. Who knows how far those conversations can go? But
I just don't want Shabazz Napier. I don't want Shabazz Napier all over again.
We don't want that again. We did that already. Yeah. Would you trade Terry Rozier and the 15th pick for Kyle Kuzma. I'm asking you this because there's a report yesterday that Washington, who already has 2 first-round picks, they're picking number 2 and number 26. They reportedly won a 3rd first-round pick. Why? I don't know. I guess the Wizards are the only team in the NBA who love this draft. But they won a 3rd first-round pick. I only include Terry Rozier because that's the contract that lines up with Kuzma's. Would you include Rozier and that 15th pick to go get Kyle Kuzma?
I would not. I know most Heat fans would. I'm just not a believer in Kuzma and his game overall. I don't want him on the roster.
I think I'm with you there.
Plus,
Rockets,
I don't think he could coexist. I don't think he can coexist with Tyler Hero either. So
that would be sort of the other.
That's a sticking point.
That would be the other thing there. Maybe there's another move that moves Tyler Hero out in a separate deal, brings Kyle Kuzma in, could be your long-term answer at power forward. I'm on the fence about it. In terms of the value, I think that's about right. Rozier in the 15th pick for somebody like Kuzma. From a value standpoint, that sounds about right in terms of what it would probably take for another team to trade for Kyle Kuzma. The Houston Rockets were big winners in the NBA lottery. They moved all the way up to the number 3 pick. Would you trade Jimmy Butler to the Rockets for Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, Jayshawn Tate, and the number 3 pick? Because even after they moved up in that lottery to get that 3rd pick, everybody that was representing the Rockets in Chicago for the lottery was saying, we're trying to make the playoffs next year. This number 3 pick is really cool. Maybe it can help us with that, but our goal is to make the playoffs next year. Jimmy Butler, that could help them make the playoffs next year.
Is this regardless of the contract negotiations, or this knowing that he's not going to sign the extension, or that he's unhappy with,
I guess it's
whatever it is I'd be offering him? Yeah. If I know that the contract negotiations are going to work out well, and I know he's going to be disgruntled and he's going to request a trade anyway, then yes, obviously I take that deal.
Yeah, if you think that he's going to probably leave anyway and he's not going to be happy, then this is the sort of deal that makes a lot of sense. You get a guy in Dylan Brooks who could fill in as that wing defender, Steven Adams, who could provide some real size, perhaps help move Bam Adebayo to power forward, depending on what that looks like, maybe in training camp or something. Jayshawn Tate, who can help replace guys like Caleb Martin or perhaps even Haywood Highsmith, who might not return next year, both of them free agents. And then you get the number 3 pick. And I don't know that the number 3 pick necessarily helps Miami right now, but maybe it helps them right now in acquiring that other something, maybe a Donovan Mitchell or something else. Now you're talking about a real, not centerpiece because people don't look at that draft this way, but a real blue chip piece in a package with some other stuff.
A good trade asset,
Right. That can help you get that other star. Last one. Given on how this season has gone, playing tournament for the 2nd straight year, injuries up and down the roster, disappointing first-round exit, I don't know, and maybe you have more insight to this than I do, because you're more plugged in on this stuff than I am. If the Miami Heat as an organization are going to continue the Heat culture campaign, because they do tend to do this in like 2 and 3 year collectives, right? Like little series. This is the black one. Maybe next year it's the white jersey is the Heat culture campaign. I'm just guessing. I literally have done 0 reporting on this. Based on how last season went, would you audible from the Heat culture campaign if indeed that was the plan for next season?
I would not, and I don't think the Heat organization will either. They listen to all the noise, they hear it, but they lean into what they do and they double down on it, and they find a way to kind of make you understand, oh, this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. Even when everybody zigs, they're just gonna say, no, we're fine zagging and we're perfectly fine, and you will be too. And that's just the way they've done things for 20-something years, and it's worked. That's why they've sold more apparel than any other organization over that last 10, 15 years or so. It started with Vice and everything else, but everything they've done, they'll just continue to lean into it. So I didn't have a problem with the culture campaign. I know a lot of people wanted to point to the words being printed on the court and everything else like that. And obviously it wasn't very successful, but the season itself, at the same time, I still think that if you can make tweaks to it and you can kind of continue to make it more appealing to other people, I think they'll continue. It
makes sense coming off of a finals run. It makes a lot less sense having won one playoff game.
Why?
It's like Heat
culture exists, notwithstanding of the season past. The culture is still there. That's what makes the Heat different. Is that the culture is immovable. It's constant, and that's.
So would you just on the court just say, "Still here, still has culture. Just still don't worry, nothing to worry about."
What? I'd double down. I'd put like every spoism. don't let go of the rope, and like cursive letters all over the place. We're not for everybody, whatever it takes. Just double down.
Just the size, Spo's profile just silhouetted onto the court somewhere, just barking these out.
Right. We're burning the boats. You got. I would even have like a burnt boat giveaway or something like that. That's just whatever it takes.
Our exit interviews are next. We're going to start with Bam Adebayo here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. We've talked about BetterHelp before, but if you're looking to talk to somebody about an issue, maybe it's something short term, maybe it's something that's been building for a while, but you just want a perspective from somebody that's not a family member or a coworker, you want an unbiased expert opinion that might help you, then what you're looking for is probably therapy. And if that's the case, then give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a really brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist. And it's probably somebody in your area. Just meet with them online. It's, again, completely fitted to your schedule. But if your schedule changes for whatever reason, you've got to tweak it. You got to find a new therapist. It's easy to make a switch, and there's no cost to you. So if you're looking for a therapist and you want to give BetterHelp a try, go visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today, and you get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video. That really helps us. And if you're listening to us on your podcast app, please leave a 5-star rating and a review.
What's a good number for the summer? Like, the summer is a slow time, and I know we got a boost last year from Team Lemon, but I kind of want to top out the summer, maybe, I don't know, close to 17,000 subscribers. We're at 13 and a half now, roughly. I think 17 is a doable number, but we need your help to do it. So we can't get there on our own. Yeah.
Let's make it 18.
Why not?
It's going to be a wild summer. I mean, it was Damian Lillard last year. Who's it going to be this year? I mean, there's going to be rumors flying all around. And we'll be covering it here every day,
Absolutely.
Monday to Friday. Let's get back to our exit interviews. So yesterday we covered, who did we cover? Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, and Duncan Robinson. Today we're covering basically the center position. Here's how it's going to work if you missed yesterday's episode. We'll have a headline for the season for each player. We'll tell you what Pat Riley told them in his exit interview in the meanest way possible. This is based off of the Goran Dragic story. Dragic telling the OG podcast that after his first half season in Miami, he walked into Riley's office and Riley said, "You need to be better. We didn't pay you for this bleep." And that's basically what Goran Dragic walked into the summer with. So what is that version that Pat Riley tells each of the players that we cover here? Was his season A surprising, B as expected, C disappointing? I keep doing that. D inconsistent. And then we'll talk about their summer plans. We'll start with Bam Adebayo, the headline from the season for Bam. New role, same questions. Obviously, Bam getting the captain role, playing a bigger role within the organization there. But after 1 year, and I thought it was a very successful season for Bam, he may or may not make an All-NBA team. I don't think he's gonna, but he's at least sort of on the short list for a lot of voters, which could impact how much money he can make on an extension, et cetera, that we could cover that later on. But we leave with sort of the same questions about Bam. How do you expand your offensive game? Can he be more efficient offensively?
Yeah.
Was he snubbed from Defensive Player of the Year again? Feels like we ask that every season. And what is his optimal position? Is this guy going to be a power forward going forward? Can they work it where he is a center, right? I think you and I are pretty comfortable at where that is, but it's still sort of a question that's out there. And Udonis Haslem giving it voice a little bit on First Take the other week. So that's my headline. New role, same questions.
No, I like it. I'm going to stick with that one too, because I think it's a good kind of synopsis of like his season. Like, I think there are still people, even in this point in Bam's career, that still question his value and everything else like that. But despite the captaincy and everything else, like it was very interesting to me in his actual exit interview how he spoke about the demands of the captaincy and what that takes. It's not just about himself; it's about kind of getting everybody on the same page. It's just much more of a vocal leadership role. And look, you know, that's a position held by Udonis Haslem and Dwayne Wade for a long time, but Bam, like considering he's a mid-first round pick, I don't think anybody ever expected him to be that, to be that level of importance within the structure of the organization. But here he is, and he is the centerpiece. So he has to understand what's at stake. And at the same time, he has to be a little bit more demanding of what he provides on the floor, because I think this is his team now. And I think it's important for him to continue to grow and show everybody and set the example, set the bar high for everyone else.
What's the meanest thing Pat Riley is telling him when he walks into that office for the exit interview?
See, I don't think it can be mean with him. Again, this isn't, this is your franchise centerpiece. This is the building block moving forward. So I don't think you can afford to burn that bridge, especially if Bam would to request a trade at some point, which I think is a legitimate concern, even if a lot of Heat fans don't. So this is my feelings. What Pat would say is, I'll tell you the same thing I told Dwayne in 2007. This is your goddamn team now, so you better make damn sure you let everybody know that in the Olympics this summer, because we need your help. Yeah.
And start talking to your teammates. See which one of them wants to come here. That's
it. We all know that 2010, the big three don't happen without the 2008 Olympics and everything, those conversations that went on there. Obviously, maybe even setting like Pat referenced it in his exit interview or his, end of season press conference, that in 2006, when Dwayne, LeBron, and Chris Bosh all signed those 4-year extensions, they knew that 2010 was coming up down the pike. But I think it's important for Bam to continue to exert his influence around the league, which I think is considerable. Like, he is a well-liked, well-respected player. And for superstars that can put up big numbers, they always want somebody like Bam. He might be the highest level Robin to whoever the Batman might be, whether it's Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker or Damian Lillard or whomever. Yeah. They all want to play with a guy like Bam Adebayo.
He is tailor-made to be that Robin. And I don't even mean that as any, no disrespect. He is the ideal complement to a top 20 scorer in the NBA.
He could be like Scottie Pippen in that sense.
Exactly.
A great top 75 player who just wasn't the number one guy on his team because they had Michael freaking Jordan.
Well, yeah. And also, Scottie Pippen, as great as he wasn't going to be Michael Jordan. It wasn't just because he was on the team with Michael Jordan. Sometimes you just need to be next to that player, right? I think Paul George is somebody that's very similar to that, where Bam Adebayo is an elite defensive player. He's going to set great screens. He's going to rebound. He's going to do all the little things. He's going to do all the communication. He's going to set the tone. And if you're a 26-point per game scorer, you can walk into this situation, just turn the key, and everything's ready to go. Like, the culture is set. The tone is set. Defensively, you're fine. You could just focus on scoring, and Bam Adebayo is going to help you be a better scorer because of what he's able to do with the screen setting and the passing and all those things. On the Olympic team, I had that as a note later, but since you brought it up, on the Olympic team is going to be Bam Adebayo along with Steph Curry, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Drew Holiday, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Joel Embiid. TBD on Kawhi, TBD on Joel Embiid, depending on their health. But that's the roster right now. That's an intriguing roster. I don't know which one of these players are looking to move anywhere. I think a lot of people would look at that Devin Booker situation with Phoenix. I would have him as monitoring the situation, but I would never bet that he's going to leave Phoenix. I just don't see the Suns blowing that up. And that same goes for Kevin Durant. I just don't see that happening this summer.
Which is kind of where Bam comes in now. To me, again, we saw this play out last year with Damian Lillard. I don't think anybody foresaw a public breakup going as badly as that one did, regardless of what team he landed on or anything like that. But I think for Devin Booker, despite the fact that they've done everything they can to build a team around him, it hasn't succeeded. And you get Mike Budenholzer and everything else like that. But I mean, I think somebody pointed out, this is his 7th NBA head coach. Like that's the selling point. We're stable here. It's been Spo. It will always be Spo. Spo's under contract. It's the culture. It's everything else that you've never had in Phoenix. Come get a taste of that stability that you've never had in your career.
And then for our final, we get 2 more here. Was Bam Adebayo's season surprising, as expected, disappointing, or inconsistent? We've got this based on Flanagan's categories. The surprising Flanagan's menu item is the blackened tuna hoagie. People can hear the story why in our yesterday episode if you didn't catch that. As expected, rib rolls. Rib rolls are exactly what they are. They're not that good. They're not that bad. They're just rib rolls. Disappointing are the potato skins, and inconsistent are the chicken wings. Don't at us.
I'm going to go with the rib rolls on Bam Adebayo. I think it was as expected.
Rib rolls. Rib roll season for Bam Adebayo. Not bad. It's a rib roll season. It's exactly what you
Right.
needed. Summer plans. I think he needs to work on his 3-point shooting. I think the Olympics will be a really good place for that, by the way, based on the style of play, international basketball, and things like that. And he needs to develop 1 or 2 post moves, like real fundamental post moves. And I know it's difficult, but if he can add a drop step, a push through, something where he doesn't have to settle for those mid-range jumpers quite as much. If he can, the mid-range jumper is always going to be part of his game, and I think it should. That free throw line jumper is his sweet spot, and when he steps into it and he's hitting it at a 45% clip, that's a good shot. It can't be his only shot. If he could trim the fat on that inefficient shot with some more three-pointers and some more shots at the rim, that's what I'm working on if I'm Bam this summer. He told reporters during his exit interview he wants to work on more communication offensively, getting guys in spots. That's all great. And it's all real stuff that a captain needs to work on. But there's also some stuff offensively that he can work on too.
I like it. Yeah. And I'm excited about the Olympics. I kind of hedge a little bit because it's like, I kind of want him just in the lab working, but I understand the significance of it. And like, we're talking about a guy now who's on his path to winning a second consecutive Olympic gold medal. Like, I don't think anybody foresaw that future for Bam Adebayo when he was a mid-round pick, when they had Hassan Whiteside under that incredible $99 million deal or whatever it was, and they got Kelly Olynyk in free agency, and you have Bam as like an unknown. I remember the day of that draft.
Is Bam going to be like the new Drew Holiday in the league, where he's just widely respected by every player? Every player is like, who doesn't get enough credit for their defense? Bam Adebayo. They all say that about Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday also on this Olympic roster. Drew Holiday is not one of the best 15 players in the NBA. And maybe never, and probably never has been. And I don't know, and I'm not saying that for Bam, but just so widely respected. Everybody wants him on their teammate. Yeah. And he's not going to be the top player on a championship team, but he could be maybe the third scorer on a championship team.
On a championship team.
Right.
Guys like that.
But you absolutely need him because he's willing to play whatever role. I think Bam might be the league's new Drew Holiday.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it, but it makes a lot of sense. So this is the cross-league appeal of Bam Adebayo. I think a lot of Heat fans kind of take it for granted, or just ignorant to how well liked and respected he is. And I saw it up close in Indianapolis. Like, he's a star amongst stars and the players. Like, as a guy,
he's your star player's favorite star player.
Yes,
right? It's sort of that way.
It really
him and Anthony Edwards, I guess, are those guys because everybody can't stop talking about Anthony. But you mentioned that you kind of want him in the lab. I think the Olympics are going to be a great place for him to work on his game. Like I said, the international game really kind of makes you float towards the three-point line a little bit more because it's so fast-paced and the way that the style of play is. And he gets to play with Joel Embiid, perhaps, LeBron, Kawhi Leonard. Like, there's going to be stuff that he could take from Devin Booker, guys who have like legit post moves that maybe he can learn from a little bit. I don't know. It's something. It doesn't hurt to be playing alongside those guys. And you do see players level up after their U.S. experience. And I think the first time Bam did it, he leveled up. All right, we're going to continue along with our exit interview series after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the place to get tickets for whatever event you might be looking for, with their killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Let's say you're in town for work, right? You kind of fly into X city and you want to go check out a baseball game, or maybe there's a comedy show for your favorite comedian or something like that. Well, you go and get the Game Time app, but you know what? You're running late. You just got out of that meeting. Guess what? You might get tickets cheaper at the start of whatever show you might want to go to, or whatever game you might want to go to, than you have, because Game Time has
Game 5 of the Panthers tonight, perhaps.
Yes,
in Sunrise.
Close out those Bruins. It's been fantastic to watch it. So if you're kind of on the fence right now, you're not sure, maybe I've never been to a hockey game or something like that. Guess what? You're going to love it. It's a great experience. Go on Game Time right now. Get those tickets to go see your Cats. Go support the team because they've been a lot of fun. And if nothing else, a few Boston fans that are likely in attendance, you can see them cry on their way out as they leave early, because they surely will. And that does not just happen in Miami. But in any case, go right now, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. Terms do apply, but create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA. That should be NBA, not NHL. LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We'll be right back.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. We've got 3 more exit interviews to go through. I'm going to have to hit these quickly. We'll start with Kevin Love. Headline from the season for Kevin Love. Kevin Love has aged into a second unit anchor. I thought last year off the buyout with Cleveland, he struggled to find his voice on the Heat's roster. Was he going to be a starting power forward next to Bam? Was he going to come off the bench? He kind of did both for a little while. And the 3-point shot never really came along. This year, comes off the bench from day one. He's the backup center behind. It really wasn't day one. It was more like day 3. They finally figured it out. And he comes off the bench for Bam, and he immediately becomes the perfect partner for Jimmy Butler in that second unit. When Jimmy Butler kind of goes out, comes back in, Bam leaves, and then you've got like this pick and pop game between Jimmy and Kevin Love. And I thought it really worked. I thought he gave really important minutes. He's not the Kevin Love he once was, but he was really, really helpful to Miami during the regular season. I know it was a rough playoff for him. That matchup against Boston is not ideal. It required way too much switching, something that Kevin Love acknowledged. But overall, I think you've got to be really positive about what Kevin Love gave him this year.
Yeah, no, there's no denying that. Like, he played a big role off the court in terms of that mentorship role, and I thought that might be his ceiling and what he might be able to contribute. But his actual on-court presence was a lot better than expected, and I think he surpassed whatever expectations we had going into the season. He found a niche role, but he worked very well at it, and unfortunately, he just was hurt. And obviously, given his age and everything else, you don't know what you're going to be able to get from him regularly. But when he was available and he was out there, he was a very productive player.
What's the meanest thing that Pat Riley could tell him when he walks into his office for his exit interview?
He can't be mean. He can't be mean with a guy that came there and wanted to play with his team as a free agent. He's a Hall of Famer, etc. So to me, the quote is, whenever you're ready for the next step, there'll always be a place for you here. Almost the exact opposite of me.
I like it.
I was thinking, are you ready for coaching yet? And but at the same time, like, he's still playing well. Like, we're talking about the big man rotation. Like, he's a better option than Thomas Bryant or Orlando Robinson. And he's, 40 years old almost. Like, it's ridiculous.
It brings us to our next Flanagan's theme segment. Was his season black and tuna hoagie? Was his season rib rolls, potato skins, or wings? I got to go black and tuna hoagie on this thing.
Same.
Totally surprising.
In a good way. Not in a bad way. Surprisingly good. Like, the fact that he was
surprisingly good. I should change the category name to that, because if it's the other one, it's disappointing. So surprisingly good. The black and tuna hoagie.
Yeah, it's just, he was so productive. Like, the rebounding numbers, the outlet passing, and all the things that he's done, the mainstays of his career. But he just functioned so well as a backup big that we didn't know that he could embrace that role. Like, that he was brought in basically for a positional need at the power forward spot. And then somehow he wound up evolving into this backup center and thriving in the role. To the point where Bryant and Orlando couldn't get minutes at all because of Kevin Love's impact.
And still doing the mentorship thing. Like, his voice in that locker room.
Friendship,
at the end of every game, you knew the Heat won if Kevin Love was screaming at somebody. Just like yelling, like joking around with them and stuff like that. You always knew. And every practice during the media portion that we're allowed into, you just hear Kevin Love, his voice just echoing off the walls. He was very important to that locker room. All right, quickly. Thomas Bryant, the headline for him season. Another fan base learns about the Thomas Bryant experience. It's up and down with him. The numbers, the size, all of it looks great. You're like, oh my God, we got the best backup center in the league, or whatever you think. Like, how did these 3 other teams pass on this guy? And then you sort of learn, like, he's a good locker room guy. Everybody likes being around him. Offensively, he's very skilled. He's a good rebounder, but defensively, he's so inconsistent. There are times where he looks very good. There are times where he looks very bad. And that's just sort of the Thomas Bryant experience. So he can't be, I think he's good as an option, but he can't be your only option in terms of being your backup center. What does Pat Riley tell him when he walks into the office?
He could be a little bit meaner here, obviously, just under contract still. But the quote is, I don't know what you did in Washington, Los Angeles, or Denver, but here on this team, we play defense. You're under contract, but I don't know what your future in the NBA is, but you've got 1 year left to goddamn figure it out. Because I think it's at a point now where, there was so much talk at the start of the season. Oh, best backup big, best big man rotation between him and Bam Adebayo. And then he's carving out minutes and can't get any playing time behind an older Kevin Love. And I think that's on him. Like, there were flashes here, and some people have criticized it. And I'm kind of curious to get your take on this. Do you think Spo misused him or utilized a guy like Thomas Bryant.
My
But
only
at the same
question
time,
is the 3-point shooting. Where did it go? It was a part of his
yes,
game in
yes.
Los Angeles. It started to become a part of his game in Washington. It really wasn't a part of his game in Denver, but I
Again,
do.
not much playing time, but you're playing
Right,
behind the MVP, so whatever.
right.
That's to be expected.
I that's my only question is where did it come from? I guess the Heat just needed him to be near the rim to rebound because they were not a very good rebounding team when Bam Adebayo wasn't in the game, and when Bam Adebayo was not in the game, then Thomas Bryant was in the game. So that would be my guess. But in terms of misusing him, what did you like? Spo wasn't going to use Thomas Bryant to the point where he was going to look like Joel Embiid. So I don't know what. I really don't understand that criticism all that much. Was his season the Flanagan's menu item for his season? I'm going to go. As expected, I'm gonna go rib rolls here. I could be talked into
Really?
potato skins. I could be.
Yeah,
I kind
potato
of knew.
skins
I kind of knew
all the
what was
way.
I kind of knew what we were getting with Thomas Bryant. I think a lot of fans probably didn't, but I'm talking about me. It was rib rolls for me. That was rib rolls for me. I'm not.
I don't know.
But I could be talked into
we
potato
talked to him at
skins.
media day. We talked to him in media day, and we kind of both came away from that being like, you know what, he's buying in. He's still young, and he kind of showed some flashes. You know, he's a guy who was going to be so much better than the Dwayne Dedman experience because he was the almost exact opposite of that. Well, yeah, he could score.
He
He just
still
couldn't do
was.
much else.
He was still
defensively,
much better than Dedman.
Yeah. So, I think we both had high expectations, and I don't think we believed the hype from Bobby Marks or anything like that. But unfortunately, the fact that he couldn't get playing time, and when he did, he was just like, "Oh, look, there's somebody driving right past me." Yeah, it was disappointing, unfortunately. I'm hoping for better.
I think, look, he's got that player option this summer. His summer plan needs to be whether or not he needs to take that player option or if he should opt out into free agency. And you got to work with your agent, figure that out. Is there an opportunity perhaps for more playing time somewhere else at the same amount of money, maybe another one-on-one? If there's not that opportunity, then do you opt back in and try to carve out a role next year? Or is there more? But Kevin Love is still under contract. He's got that player option too. I think we all expect him to pick that up and be back next year. Bam Adebayo is still on the roster. There is talk about the Heat adding another big man. Like if you're Bryant, you got to really figure it out. Like if there is a chance for me to get playing time somewhere else, that might be the better option for me because there might not be playing time here next year. But if there's not that chance, then you got to opt in and try to figure it out. All right, Orlando Robinson. Headline from the season. Like the city he's named after, Orlando Robinson was often forgotten. I just he was in the lineup sometimes, and a lot of times he wasn't. What does Pat Riley tell him in the meanest way possible?
If you can't figure out a way to beat Kevin Love in the rotation, then you might want to start getting your passport updated.
Was his season surprising, as expected, disappointing, or inconsistent? I'm going to go inconsistent with him. There were moments, but mostly inconsistent. So he was Flanagan's chicken wings, just inconsistent. Do you agree?
I'm gonna go potato skins on that. I thought he
Disappointing.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was enough flashes there. I was there in Las Vegas during Summer League, and he had those monster games and that 3-point shooting, and he looked like he was next level. I mean, there were people that cover the league in general saying he's the next guy. You remember that? There was a lot of buzz about him after Summer League. He was I think he was the Summer League All-Star, and
that's true.
Didn't pan out. So I don't know.
You're right. You're right. His season was potato skins. All right, you talked me into 2 potato skins. How'd you do that? Summer plans for Orlando Robinson. You mentioned Summer League. I think that's the plan again. Impress in Summer League because you're going to need that to find a spot in the NBA next year, whether or not it's in Miami or somewhere else. Interesting thing quickly about Orlando Robinson's contract, non-guaranteed. So it's essentially a team option for the Miami Heat. I don't think they're just going to waive him outright because you can also use that as like a couple $1 million that you can use in a trade. So maybe that's something that helps you kind of grease the wheels. Not that any team would be looking for Orlando Robinson. I just think, when you're trying to talk about matching salaries and stuff like that, that extra $2 million could be helpful. I imagine if he's not traded, probably on the roster for training camp. And then that way Miami can make a decision then. I'm not sure when his guaranteed deadline is, actually. I should have checked that before I said that. But up until the guaranteed deadline, I would imagine Orlando Robinson is on the roster unless he's traded, just to keep that optionality open. But his spot in the league this is a do or die summer for him. Like Summer League, of all the players we've talked about so far in these exit interviews, is most important for Orlando Robinson. Like this is going to be a big summer for him. And that includes Vegas, Sacramento, everywhere else. All right.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards. All right. So for tomorrow's episode, We are going to be talking with Will Manso, the one and only. We're going to be talking about him, about the Miami Heat season and his recent trip to Boston for Panthers Bruins, because I think that'll be interesting. And then we're going to continue along with our exit interviews for the rest of the week. We've got Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Caleb Martin, Eric Spoelstra, all of those people being exit interviewed throughout the week. For now, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on your podcast app.